Hi everyone. Hello, I am Pratik Shetty, your host and your host. And today we have a very special segment, Woman in Tech Episode 1. And we have the wonderful Priti Singh with us. So, Preeti is a community advocate at Push Protocol, and she has been a part of a lot of communities, also actively a part of Women in Tech, and been building her projects like in blockchain, Web3, and also doing freelancing and has done a lot more stuffs. So today we are going to learn about her journey and how she can inspire other women to have their ground in this tech industry. So yeah, Preeti, over to you.
Thank you for such a beautiful introduction, Pratik. Really nice to meet you. It's been a while since we met, right? I remember meeting you in Microsoft Office and like tapping your
Yeah.
shoulder. That was like a nice epic interaction. I had no idea like he was from Thakur because like we are sort of from the same area. I'm from Atharva College, so it was very nice meeting him, and it's like how much we have grown in like such a short time, and it's amazing to like meet you. Thank you for that beautiful introduction.
Yes, obviously. So can you give a background about how you started with software development? Was it something like pre-planned or and what were the challenges and how you did it?
No, definitely it was never pre-planned. Like I was doing something very, very different. I was very much interested into like doing acting and stuff, and I was doing that. But then one day, like COVID and stuff happened, and I decided, okay, I need to do something else. And I just happened to start coding, and it just interested me a lot. And mainly, I've been like freelancing as a software developer, and we have been getting like good clients and stuff, and we will be launching our agency like officially soon. We already have an agency, but we haven't like put it out there. But yeah, we will be doing that, and yeah, that's how it happened. It just normally happened. It was never pre-planned.
Okay, cool. So, how did you get involved into the tech community? As in, you are from Atharva College and I'm from Thakur, so
Yeah,
we know that our colleges are not much into community culture and stuff. So,
definitely.
how did you get your ground into tech
Definitely.
communities and yeah,
Yeah, and also like I just wanted to like talk about this how beautifully you are managing your communities and stuff at Thakur College, which is like we never saw something like this happening. You are doing it, and I remember meeting you like back in I think one of the events uh, in Thakur itself. And then you were telling about this open source community you are
yeah,
launching, and you were like, okay, wow, that is a nice thing. And I never really never thought you would be working so hard for it, and you literally surprised everybody, and I feel so happy to see you getting sponsors and stuff, and you're doing amazing. I think, yeah, when it comes to tech community, yeah, I'm from a Therapy college, and we have zero seen about uh, tech community and stuff. Obviously, like there was this one post I stumbled upon on in one of the WhatsApp groups, and it said like, okay, you can just come and network with all the other developers. And I wasn't really that keen on going because I had no idea about that, so I just went. It was an event by Hack This Fall. I'm like a close members. I'm one of the close members with Hack This Fall now. But that was it, and that's how I found out. Okay, there is this thing exist. We didn't even have GDSC at college back then, which was which
yeah,
is so like epic. Like, and that's when how I found out about it and started networking with people. I downloaded Twitter, which has been like game changing in my career, and I network with so many people out there, and I started going out. Basically, I went to like DJ Sangvi College. If you're from Mumbai, you would obviously know about this college, and they do a lot of
yeah,
events.
obviously DJ Sangvi, known for its
we,
infrastructure. Yeah,
we didn't get it, so yeah. So but they do a lot of events, and that's I think I attended one of the hackathons, 24-hour hackathons, and that was like, okay, I need to do something about it, and that's how I found out about it. I think that is like you only just need that one thing and that one push, and once you get it, you just sort of find your way through it. And that was like Hack This Fall and that hackathon for me, and I met so many people like to Anam, Dheeraj, and so many people, and founded okay Mumbai also had like a sort of a community. I started attending and networking with people, and it just opened a lot of doors for me later. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember a lot of things like we share in the community. Obviously, we'll be discussing that. Plus, as you know, like we are TCT open source. So talking about open source comes naturally. So, like, how did I know like you have done contributions in open source and a part of open source community? So, like, how was your open source journey? And do you think like building a career from open source is sustainable and like is helpful?
Yeah, honestly, when it comes to open source, I've been slacking a lot lately. But I'll share one incident when like I contributed to my first open source. It's almost been like a year now. Uh, there's this organization called Heptagram. So anybody who is looking to contribute, like from JavaScript point of view, Heptagram, it's like a Discord bot provider. So there are a lot of tools. Uh, for Discord. So I just went and just commented, hey, I take this up? Can I take this issue up? So I had to make like a one command, which was like a banned command, and connected with MongoDB, and then do all the stuff like, okay, this person is banned, so he should not be allowed. And I had no idea. I had built one project using MongoDB, and I had no idea about it. So I was just trying to figure out, and I just took 2 weeks to do just to do that and connect to MongoDB and stuff. It took me a lot of time, but when it finally happened, and I just made my first PR, and it just got merged in the first time itself, and that made me feel so powerful. I was like, okay, this is amazing. So that was my first interaction with open source, and there's been no looking back after that. I think we do make a lot of projects for ourselves, but when we contribute to others' project, it just makes you feel. It just you learn so many things on the way, right? You learn how to read the code base. You learn how other people write the same code, and like how they just express themselves in terms of like the code. So that was amazing, and I think it just opens a lot of doors for you. I know so many people who work as maintainers and stuff, and they get paid a lot, which is amazing. And definitely try open source. You don't have to contribute huge things. You can just start with contributing to your friend's project. Go to Pratik's GitHub, find a project, just make a contribution. Don't have to like start with contributing to React.js or like Dockersaurus or something like that. Yeah.
Exactly. Like many beginners see the code base of these large projects and they are like scared. Ki, okay, open source is not for us. But if you start contributing from small scale projects, you will
Yeah.
learn a lot and then you move on to a big code database, right? So it's like A
Exactly.
to Z steps.
Yes,
Plus, yeah,
I uploaded one project like a week ago, and I saw somebody commenting and like that there is a spelling mistake in my README, and he made like a PR, and I was like, okay, that is very cool. Like he just made a PR for it. Like just go and do that with your friend's project, with your own
yeah,
project.
initially you can do typo fixes, you can do
Yeah,
documentation also. Like in our
exactly.
TCT open source we have a team solely dedicated for doing documentation of all our projects resources. So it's using docker or as the meta wala thing, right?
Yeah.
It helps to write in markdown, so they are
Mhm.
contributing into the markdown files. But
Wow.
the documentation is often neglected, but it's really difficult to document text. I mean, sometimes
Exactly.
documentation is difficult than even coding. Like you have to get knack of all the requirements and the
Yes.
flow, and it actually takes a lot of thinking. So yeah,
Yeah.
you can start with documentation.
Basically, yeah,
Yeah,
think it of like that you can't code without documentation. You cannot just start like, obviously, if you don't understand the SDK, how are you gonna code, right? So documentation is one of the
right.
most important aspects. So definitely find typos in it. You will find in all the companies, literally everywhere you'll go, there will be at least one typo. So just go and find that. Yeah,
There are specifically a lot of communities like Async API. You might have heard they
of
support
course.
documentation. You mentorship to people.
Yes.
So yeah, you can start
There's
with that.
a GSOD every year happening. So if you're into
Yeah,
like,
yeah, GSOD, Google Summer of Documentation.
yeah, I'm not like I haven't really participated or like looked into it, but I know a lot of people have, and it opened like a lot of doors for them. So definitely, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So like coming to hackathons, like I know you have won a lot of hackathons. So like, how was your first hackathon experience? Like, when did you do the first hackathon? Because you know the first one
Yeah.
is really important.
Yeah, my
Yeah.
first hackathon was in DJ Sangvi, like I told, and we didn't know like a lot of coding back then. We just knew HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and built like a small full stack project by following a tutorial. But then we were there, we had a set of problem statements we had to choose from, so we just found out the easiest one we could do then, and we tried implementing it, and it was just not happening. Like, it was a very simple project and it took us like a 24 hours to implement it, but when it happened it just made us feel so amazing, like okay, at least we are able to submit it. Because if 100 people are participating in a hackathon, I'm going to tell you only 25 people will submit their project. And this is not even a joke. This is really really like true. Like, as an organizer, as a judge, as a mentor, like I can tell you, like, there are very very few projects that are submitting good quality projects. So it's not that difficult to win hackathons when it comes to like whether it's like MLH hackathon or a lot of small hackathons or like a big hackathon. So I would say when it comes to solving problem, just choose something very simple. Don't have to overcomplicate it. If you're starting out, choose something very simple and just solve that problem. It's that simple. You can just win because you are solving a good problem, and not you don't have to overly complicate it, basically. Yeah.
Exactly. Plus, talking about like failures, as you know, like myself also, I have like gone into hackathons where I couldn't win, but it was not worthless because if you don't win, it does not mean that you have wasted your time. You learn something. You learn 10 ways how
Yes.
not to present your project or what
Yes.
not to do during a hackathon. So, can you tell me
I
something
think,
about
yeah,
your
I think you
failures?
would also agree that after every hackathon, there is not even a single time we would say, okay, we haven't learned anything new, right? You always
Exactly.
learn something very, very new. You also get exposed to so many companies that are sponsoring, so you learn about their SDKs and so many things that are happening. Uh, yeah, I think failures, they are very important part. Just celebrate your failures as much as you celebrate your win, because you won't win if you won't fail, right? If you are
Right.
always
Like
that
I've
was the
seen many people on social media, they post about the victories. So many people get demotivated. Okay, we have not won our first hackathon, or we have not won a lot of hackathons, and these people are winning in a
exactly.
streak. So, but it does not matter, because like even I also haven't won my first ever hackathon. Some people win, some people don't,
Hmm.
but you get to
Exactly.
learn a lot from that.
It's
Like
not
how
always
about
about winning. It's also about like I know it's very cliche line, like it's not always about winning, but when it comes to hackathon context, it's true. Like, it's not always about winning. You don't participate in hackathons to win the prize money. Of course, that's a good motivation, but at the end of the day, you do learn about it. You reiterate on what are the things that are going wrong, and that is more than enough, I would say. Yeah.
exactly? Like also during hackathons there are some sponsored problem statements. So like if you actually build a good app, they might even contact you. Like I've been contacted by a company like, okay, we like your product, so like would you be like working with us, like startups and all these. There is also
Yes.
opportunities that can open up.
Yes, even at Bush, when I was like, I contacted them because I was building on the project and just messaged them, hey, I built like this project on your, would you be interested in hiring me and stuff? And they just messaged me like, okay, yeah, let's get on a call and do an interview, which is like so cool, right? It's like a different way of getting hired. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like opportunities knock your door from unexpected ways. That's what
Yes.
I've learned in communities. Like
Yes.
sometimes you get so much opportunities, you're unexpecting them, and yeah, that's what you say, like
Yeah,
keep
you have to
spreading
put
what you
yourself
do.
in that position to get unexpected results. So you can't just keep seeing everybody like, hey, how are they getting those results? Because they're constantly putting themselves in those uncomfortable position and
Exactly.
uncomfortable, uh, like uh, like willing to put out all the efforts and even willing to fail. So that's how. Yeah.
Yeah, plus like you see, mostly whenever we mention about hackathons, people are actually confused, like what should we do, like we don't know much of tech stack. So does tech stack matter in hackathons, or it's just like you go there and you build whatever the problem statement is, like.
No, in my opinion, tech stack doesn't matter. I used to think the same, okay, I don't know this, I don't know Python, but most of the companies are language agnostic. So you would find SDKs in many languages, and JavaScript is one of those languages you will definitely find in React Native, Flutter, and I think most companies are language agnostic, and it doesn't really matter. Honestly, just do one thing, but do it nicely. Be open to learning everything, but focus on one thing, because you need to show that, right, okay, there is this one thing I mastered in and I could help you with. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, plus like for online hackathons and offline hackathons, do you think there is like much difference? Like I have also been part of online hackathon, but mostly I prefer offline hackathon because I feel like there is a team bonding in offline hackathons, and you are much more focused. Sitting at the comfort of
Yes.
your home, you might slack a bit and like, okay, let's take a rest. But when you're with four people, they don't let you sleep until you
Exactly.
fix that damn bug, or until you
Yes.
deploy your app, or until that breaking changes are fixed. You
Yes.
won't sleep, right?
You
So
wouldn't
like, what
sleep
is
at
your
all.
experience about it?
And honestly, if you're in any good like offline hackathon, you will have so many things to do, games and networking with people, all these booth, that you wouldn't get a chance to sleep in the first place. And obviously the motivation to win is a lot more, because you're seeing other people working so hard, so okay, I also need to work hard, and you learn from it. There are mentors available 24/7 for you, and you can just go ask any doubt to them. It might be silly, but they are always there to help you. But when it comes to online, I'm not a big fan of online hackathons as well. I'm like, no, because I always forget about online hackathons. Like if it's like a weekend, I'll forget by the end of the day, okay, I have to work on it, because there is so much happening at home and there's so many other things that you sort of not prioritize. But obviously it depends person to person. But when it comes to learning curve, obviously I will prefer offline hackathon.
Yeah, plus one of the difficulties is like for women, like offline hackathons are mostly like difficult, as in to get permission from your home. Like
Yes.
they are like, there might be strict parents, like okay, you're
Yes.
not
Yes.
allowed to stay like overnight and all that stuff. So like, how did you, obviously you might also face that
Yes.
type of
I
situation.
think it's a very valid concern, given like a lot of situations that happens in our country. But obviously you will have to sit with your parents and tell them what hackathon is about. Don't expect them to understand it in the first go, because obviously if they are not from this background, for example, my parents are not at all from this background, or not very well versed with the tech world or corporate world. So I have to make them sit and like make them understand, okay, these are the opportunities I might get from here, and I can't miss out on them. So obviously you need to sort of make a change, and someday, and it's gonna take time. It's okay. It's okay. Yeah, maybe just make them talk to somebody who are doing well in this industry, and like somebody, you could just make them talk to me. Yeah, I would
Sure.
say, yeah,
Yeah,
it's
like
gonna
I
take
like the
time.
way of like the free way, and like you are really chill and cheerful. That's one of the things. So like, yeah, coming to the next segment, like freelancing your way. Like
Yeah.
freelancing is something like we all do to become financially independent. That's what I did, like to earn my first penny or like whatever
Mhm.
payout. And I guess you are like a lot into freelancing, as I know you personally. I know like you've done a
Mhm.
really too much freelancing. So can you tell me like how did you get your first gig? Because getting the first gig in freelancing is really difficult. People are on 10 platforms, they apply on 10 platforms, but they get rejection from all the 10 platforms, and I've been myself there. It's really
Yeah.
difficult to get your first gig, but once you get it,
Yeah.
things start to get familiar. So about all your
Yeah.
freelancing
Definitely.
journey.
So yeah, when it comes to freelancing, I never got a client through any platform. It's always through referral, and my first client happened to get from an event. I basically networked with like a bunch of people in an event, and he reached out to us that, hey, we have one project and he doesn't have time to do it, so he just passed it on to us. And he was the most incredible client we have ever gotten. He's from the UK, and yeah, he does pay a lot too. And he-
Yeah,
and
obviously USD to INR. Yeah.
yeah, of course. He Other than that, he is like a huge personality in tech himself, and we've gotten like a lot to learn from him as well. So we just got a lot of referrals from there. So obviously, getting your first client is the most difficult. But I've never really personally used any sites, but I know there are a bunch of sites that have been useful for people. But here, I would again say work on your portfolio, because you have to show that you have worked on real life projects. Maybe sometimes they won't pay you as much, so it's okay to get started, because sometimes, I know this is like an opinion which is very like talked about, whether it's okay to take up projects which don't pay you a lot or it's not. But I would say if you don't have any point of work, like proof of work, it's okay to sometimes like compromise on it, but after a point, do not compromise on how much you want to get paid, because you have to stand your ground, because if you don't respect your work, nobody else will. So yeah.
Exactly, as you mentioned, like getting your first gig is really difficult, and sometimes you might get unpaid or like low paid gigs. So like taking them is essential because you will build
Hmm.
ultimately a proof of work through them, and then once you get into further into this stream, you can start charging
Yes.
accordingly. And
I'm
plus,
not like a very big advocate of unpaid work, but paid work is sometimes fine. Again, open source also acts like a good proof of work for you. So yeah,
exactly,
work on making like a proof of work.
yeah. Plus, coming to the most important question every freelancing guy has, like how to price clients, like what should be the
Oh,
pricing,
that's
how
something I
should you price
struggle.
yourself?
That's something I struggle with a lot when it comes to quoting price, because like as Indians, we are always okay. Like, what if we don't deliver the product? What if we don't, like,
Yes,
we start self doubting ourselves. But in this like moment, you just have to like believe in yourself. Just take up the gig, figure out later. That is what my
yeah,
mantra
exactly.
is. Take up any challenge which is coming in your way, and figure it out later. And when it comes to pricing, I think it depends also very much from country to country. For example, my client is from the UK, so I can just quote him a bit higher and still less for them.
Yep.
But when it comes to Indians, they're not like very good like at paying. But yeah, obviously good to get started. There are few criteria I see when it comes to quoting. First is where they are from. Just check out their profile, like how much was like um how much like how many projects and stuff they have built previously, or they have like hired any freelancers and talk to other people. Like, okay, third is to consider your own experience and your own confidence. I know it's good to believe in yourself, but sometimes, okay, you just have to keep like a balance of it. So I think these three criteria, figure it out and make like a quotation, or like a fixed quotation of it, which you can obviously keep changing here and there. Start with a little less, but I would say starting with 5 to 10K for like a small project is fine. Also depends on how many pages are there, and how many like how much back end work is there. And any work that requires a lot of back end work, I will charge a bit extra than just the front end work. So yeah, it depends page to page, but I would say if you're like super beginner, start with something like 5 to 10K, and then take your way, work your way up till like anything you want. We do charge around like sometimes it's $2,000 or something like less, and yeah, it depends from work to work.
Yeah, and again also the giving the quotation is also calculating all the things, like for example if you're using cloud services and all, the
Yeah.
monthly subscription cost is higher,
Oh,
etc. And like the
I never take that from I we never do it ourselves. We ask the clients to, hey, can you
okay,
just give us like
yeah,
subscription of it, because we don't want to pay for that. So
yeah,
it
that's
depends.
again two types of clients you
Again,
have.
it depends.
Sometimes, yep, exactly, like one freelancing project I was working on, it was like like we have to do full end-to-end development and deployment and everything, and we have to quote them the charges and all. So yeah, like it sometimes it's difficult, sometimes it's
Yes.
relatively easier.
Yeah, it is. So my client is very flexible. He's very
Yeah, again, big
flexible. Yeah. So I was working on
bonding
my
with
personal
clients and
project.
like
Yeah. I was working on my personal project. I needed OpenAI key. He just said, hey, take mine. I was like, okay.
yeah, exactly, like now I have GPT-4 thanks to my uh, yeah, startup. Yeah, so it's like,
Uh,
yeah, you get some benefits or perks out of working into this type of uh, fields. Like obviously that's some of the perks we all enjoy, right? Yeah.
yeah. True, true.
And any tips you want to give to freelancing people who have just started freelancing? Like I get a lot of queries like, okay, see, this is my proof of work, and they are really good. Actually, the people out there are really good, but they are not able to get the
Get there
clients. Like
first.
what
I
they
think,
might be doing
yeah.
wrong, or what should they do?
So I just like heard like, oh, just find out like clients work on. There are few platforms that work well. I think my favorite is will always be LinkedIn. Just find out people who like take a lot of freelancing gigs, talk to them, and talk to how they found out about like how they found their client, if they can get them any reference, because referral is the best way to get client, I think, at least I think. And
Yes.
work on your portfolio really well, because there are very few people who work on their portfolio, and you want to shine out in that term. At least you have to make sure there is no like room left from your side. So obviously, work on your portfolio, have all your proof of work, what are the services you provide, and how much time it will take for you for like a MVP. For example, you can also specialize in certain thing. For example, if you are very good with animation and stuff, so maybe do like a portfolio for animation itself. And if you're very good at making dashboards or like complicated dashboards and
Yeah,
stuff, which is very much
analytics.
always in demand, which is a complicated thing. So if you specialize in that, make your portfolio like that. So yeah, shine out and leave no like stones turned when it comes to your portfolio. And second would be to network with people a lot, go to events and tell them about the services you are providing and you want to get started in it. Just chill yourself out and put yourself out there. And especially with people who do like a lot of freelancing, because how that's how I got my first project. Like he was busy, so he just gave his project to us. So yeah, so that talk, and maybe just talk to freelancers if they can hire you. Like a lot of time we just outsource a lot of work for us when we feel like, okay, this is something we could just get outsourced, or this is something we
Yeah,
couldn't like work on. So work, maybe just ask them if they want to hire you. Again, your portfolio matters a lot, because even the client we were working for, the first thing he did was to go and check out my GitHub. So yeah, I would say that.
yeah, so like this was very relatable, and I can also share one of the incidents. Like I was back in first year, and it was like I was pretty much like average or good with graphics, like using Canva and Adobe Illustrator. I
Mm-hmm.
was building something like, there was a ML based company, so it used to take some amazing sessions and like it used to make graphics, but those graphics were not that like bright, and like I had some ideas I could make it more better. I made them and I shared them with the person. Like And the
Yes.
person was impressed. He said, okay,
Hmm.
wow, you have made some good creatives, you can become a part of our creative team. And he
Wow.
outsourced those creatives from me. So it was like I had no ground in graphics and all, like,
Hmm.
and I got that gig from like sharing. So you can do that.
Yeah.
You can,
Share your
for
work. Yeah.
example, there are existing websites, okay, that their websites might not be responsive or outdated. You can reach out to them, you can tell, hey, I have the skills, I can make you a better website. You can share them a Figma design of the website and
Hmm.
showcase them, obviously, as a prototype.
Yeah.
And if they
Yeah.
like, obviously your time is not wasted, you're building at least something. You can share the Figma design. If they like the design, you can quote them some good amount, and yeah, you can make a website from them, for them, from what my analogy
I
is.
like I've
That's how you
never
have to.
used that thing, but I think that sounds like a reasonable idea,
Yeah,
definitely. Where like, okay, wow.
because you have to personal brand yourself. If you don't showcase yourself, don't reach out to people, you can not wait for people to come to you with an invitation, right?
Exactly.
So that's how I did my first gig as a freelancing, as in graphic designing. That was totally unexpected, but I got good amount, like, but that works, right?
Yeah,
So
at the end of the day, it's about like building a personal brand. Keep working, keep showing out your work. Very important, because if you don't market yourself, who will? Learn the basics of marketing and sales is also very
exactly.
important. Yeah, that's about
Coming
it.
to the next segment, like the Web3 buzz was back in 2020, or like still
Mhm.
it is, but now the generative AI has taken over. So like every year new buzz terms come, and they keep coming, right? So like how did you
No.
get into Web3? Because I was very
Yeah.
curious. Like, in the lockdown time, the Web3 buzz was on, because obviously because of lockdown, many people started using digital transactions, and blockchain got popularized a lot. We can talk about Shiba Inu, and we can talk about a lot of crypto, etc. And Indian
I'll
crypto
just start.
is like a
Oh yeah.
different world. So like,
Um,
how did you get your ground into Web3, and how
Yeah,
it all
I'll
started?
start with this buzzword like which you're talking about. I remember
Yeah,
I was in London attending one event, and and Wilsey, I think his name is Wilsey or something. He used to work at Google and is like a senior engineer. I think I'm not sure about it, but he's very experienced in it, and he said like how buzzwords are very good for people, because it tells you about so many technologies out there, when whether it's like Web3 and generative AI, both are such important technologies of today's world, and it tells you about it. Also pays you bill because obviously, because it's a buzzword, you get like paid a lot more, because there are very few people in the industry who are very experienced in it. So buzzword is not bad. I'm just gonna start with that. It changed my perspective of thinking when he put that out, that okay, buzzword is good. There's so many things associated with. Now coming to Web3, I've like always like been interested in Web3 ever since I remember, and I used to like research about Bitcoin and stuff, but I never know there was this tech out there. I'm someone who's like always interested, and who's always like inquisitive and always searching about a lot of different things that's happening. And I found out about Web3 through Hack This Fall event itself, because Sahil Bhaiya, who is a DevRel at QuickNode, he was there, and he told us about so many things that are happening in Web3 and stuff. And I got super intrigued and went home, and I started researching about it and started learning, took my first course and built small projects on it, and like messaged a few people, and I got my first small gig on it. And then I also had like a few people messaging me if you would like to work and stuff, and I was like, okay, that is interesting, because I really wanted to intern at that point, because I had just started like learning about it, because I was in my third year and I had started learning about all this super late compared to a lot of people, because I was doing something else in my first and second year. So I started with like okay, with meeting Sahil Bhaiya, and then got getting interested in it, and then started posting. I was making a lot of content then. I think I don't know if you remember. So I was making shit ton of content. I was doing a lot of things, and that's how like few people found me and gave me like few stuff, and then I started participating in hackathons, and then messaged like the founder of Push that, hey, I built like this, and I would be interested in working with you, and that's how I got like my full time job. So yeah, that's how it
Yeah, like
happened. I think I would say, like, when it comes to Web3, if you want to join Web3, there's so many people doing very, very amazing stuff in it. So it's very important to filter out those people from the bud stuff, because bud stuff will eventually die, but the tech will remain, and you want to be in here for the tech, and you want to be in here because you are really interested in like the future of transactions, future of security, and yeah, I would say that.
yeah, exactly. Like I was also relatively new to crypto, and like past few days I have been putting my head too much into it because of the Ethereum push notifications,
Yeah.
that EPNS, like transfer that thing, and wrap my head around like how to receive. Even still now, it's not showing in the account, so I hopefully have to check.
No, that's because you haven't imported it.
Okay, I will get after the meeting. Like we'll discuss
Yeah.
about that. Sure. So like yeah, when I heard the Web3 term, it was like something new. Like I knew about Web1, Web2, and now it's Web3. It's something like more of a proof of work or proof of state type of thing, like where you can showcase, okay, the originality of a stuff, like where it originates, the blockchain, the signatures, the CIDs, whatever we talk about, it's digitally stored and you can verify it. So that's one of the things Web3
Yeah.
enables, or
Yeah.
content authenticity or like originality. That's what, yeah. Like even NFTs got popular because of that. Okay, it was just like the Pokemon cards. You are having the rarest of the cards and you trade it. So that
Yeah.
was in our generation. Now in this current generation, it's like the NFTs,
It's the
the rare
NFT.
NFTs, the Monkey DAO especially was very popular. And I was like mind boggled when I heard like 11-year-old kids becoming millionaires because of NFTs. And it was like,
Exactly. It's
that
like,
was
yeah.
when the buzz originated, like too much of hype, and that hype actually eventually died. It's not died exactly, become saturated at a point. Now NFTs are abundant and not like much exciting as before, because obviously it has
Yeah.
fair and share
Yeah,
amount
so I
of
would say, like,
popularity.
again, when it comes to NFT, like, focus on the use cases. For example, a very beautiful use case of NFT is to issue them as college certificate or as your degree. So a lot of people
Exactly.
forge degrees and stuff. And if it was an NFT, you could not do that, because it is like digitally signed, and you cannot. It's immutable. You can't really change it. And so they can be used at SBTs. SBT is another
Soul
thing
of
as,
currency.
yeah, another thing as NFT, but it cannot be transferred. So basically, focus on the use case, focus on the tech, and all the other things, filter it out.
Yeah, this actually, I remember there is one latest game developed by one of our organization members, Rishikesh Yadav. Like you might be knowing him. So he has developed a game that is a generative AI plus Web3 game. So it's like a scenario based games. You have different scenarios, you play according to that. Generative AI generates the situation based game, and at the end of that you have generated a NFT, a graphic image that can be transferred to anyone. And the best part about it is you do not have to connect your wallet.
Oh
It's done
wow.
by some protocol and on chain, so you don't have to
It's
connect
like
your wallet.
account.
Yeah.
Has he like made use of account abstraction or something?
Yes, it's like some CNFT stuff. I don't know much about it, but yeah, it's exciting. If you guys want to check it out, just go to retronexus.world.
Yeah, I'll
You can play
definitely
the
check it out.
amazing game there and generate some, yeah, NFTs. So
Wow,
yeah,
wow. People are doing such cool things, man. Is it on
exactly.
Solana?
Yeah, it's on Solana, obviously. Yeah. So,
Okay.
coming on to the next part of the segment, an important one, communities and the rise. As you know, like whatever I have like achieved until up and now, guidance, mentorship, like all the stuff, like communities played a major role in it. And obviously, I know you have been active part of community. Even you have organized events, which like we also would like to organize events someday. Yeah. So you can share your
You are
experience of
doing
like
it.
being from a participant to an organizer. How was the transition? What was the first meetup you ever attended? Like and how did everything get possible? Like once it's done, it's like okay, when you look back at the journey, okay, how I first started, what was my first step, that becomes a totally memorable moment.
Yeah, there are so many things I could think of, but I think obviously it started with the Hack This Fall event, and I knew and I learned so many things, and it opened so many doors for me that okay, I knew okay, I need to pass this down to all the people of my college, but they weren't really that interested. At least I would like to think. I don't want them to attack me, but yeah. So it all started with Hack This Fall, but and I started eventually attending more events, and we used to meet at events as well, right? Like so many common events, and I think then I got like the opportunity to like organize one for Girl Script. If you don't know, Girl Script is like a Web3 community sort of a thing. They are like the like an organizer of Web3 conference in Goa. So they were like looking for a few organizers for one of the events, and that was our first event. And you were also there. I remember, like
Yeah,
you mentioned
I
to
know.
me.
Yeah,
Yeah. So I knew like we didn't have like a lot of budget. It was like a small budget event, but I tried to make it as informative as I could instead of doing all the other swag stuff and stuff. And I think that is one thing which is super memorable for me because it was very my first event. And then I reached out to Siddharth from Hack This Fall, then got a chance to organize Hack This Fall, which is a huge event like one in India, right? A huge hackathon, offline hackathon. Then I did like a lot of events with Push as well. So I think the all these things happened very organically, I would say, because I was involved in communities as a participant. Hence I got like a chance as an organizer, because nobody will trust you as an organizer if you don't participate yourself.
exactly.
So it's very important to participate in events, learn from them, and learn from what is happening and why is it happening, about people and stuff. Yeah.
Yep. And like the most important part is like when you go into these events or hackathons or whatever the part of community culture, you may meet people, and those people are really helpful. Like how we actually met during that Microsoft event, and like
Yes.
now we have really good bond, and like we help each other, and that's what community is for, right?
Yes.
And that's when you can also get opportunities. I've seen a lot of
Yeah.
my friends getting great opportunities, like Satyam and etc. Like they have got
Yeah.
opportunities in
So,
the community.
Satyam, right? He we became friends like in a hackathon. We both were
Yeah,
traveling to from Mumbai to Rajasthan, and then we became like friends, and we shared a lot of things we do. We participated in a lot of hackathons together. We won together as well. And then one time Push was hiring, and I just told him, "Hey, Push is hiring. Would you like to apply for it?" And I just gave him like a referral, and he got the first chance to interview, and hence his chances of getting hired like increased, obviously.
yeah,
And then he
exactly,
was hired. So it's so important that you talk to people, uh, you talk to people who are doing well, and who it doesn't matter if they're doing well, or it doesn't matter like, but it's very important to talk to people and network and understand what they're doing. And you don't know where the opportunity is
exactly.
knocking from. It's crazy
Opportunities
out
can
there.
knock door
Communities.
anywhere.
Exactly.
Like yeah, even I also was first a person who is sitting in the back of the chair just listening to the speaker, and the year after I am there speaking at the same event. So it's like
Wow.
yep. So you get the opportunities. Eventually, you become a part of the community. You interact with people. Sometimes you get chance to talk with organizers, talk with
Yes.
like people, co-founders, great minds,
Yes.
and then you might share some interest with them. You might get an opportunity to be a speaker, organizer, or even get like internships and a lot more perks. Like you might find
Yes.
great teammates. Like many people have like, okay, I want to go to hackathons but can't find teammates. You can find teammates in the community, right? It's
Yes,
okay to
I've
be people from
collaborated with
other.
so many people, and it's amazing out there. I remember like meeting like Eddie in London. Obviously, everybody knows Eddie at this point. You know Eddie, right?
Yeah, I know Eddie, but yeah, I think a lot of people are still relatively new to open source. So like Eddie is the founder of Eddie Hub. It's one of the biggest open source communities on GitHub.
Yeah, I remember meeting him in London and he knew me, okay, because I've contributed to his community and I've talked to him a lot of time, and it made me feel so validated at that point because
Yeah, exactly.
I just like realized that time how like just being nice to people, like Eddie was nice to me. He was so nice to me as if he's just my friend, and he's like, it just makes like so much change in the way. And he introduced me to so many people and I network with a lot of people. So I was like, okay, I just made like a contribution to his community and I've talked once, and he enabled so many opportunities for me in a way he doesn't even know, you know. So I would say like just be a part of of any community, be like just contribute. It's very important, and you wouldn't even know how like
Exactly.
things are happening because it will happen so fast for you.
Yeah, like I also been a part of a community known as MindsDB. You might know, right? So
Yes,
like I was
yes.
contributing to MindsDB, like code and also documentation. I wrote a great blog on them, and they really liked that. Even made some live stream videos about them, also the code. So like I got to know about the internal team there. They
Mm.
interviewed me like twice, and they also
Mm.
like offered me to come to the San Francisco there for their developers meet, so conference. So but unfortunately the visa, I didn't have the visa, so I couldn't go. But yeah, maybe in
Mm.
future. So like it was very unexpected. You see, I
Yes,
just contributed to a community I didn't even know about, and a few months
exactly.
later, you build up to a point that you might even get a job offer at that, like might possibly.
Exactly.
So
It's
that's how you
amazing.
start first communicating. Communication is
Yeah,
very necessary in these aspects, right? Yeah, and plus
definitely.
as I told, blogging about them, writing posts on
Yeah.
social media is actually equally important because you get recognized. Like one of my tweets was actually retweeted and also commented by Supaway CEO, CTO, and all.
Oh
You
wow.
might have seen that. Like it was just
Okay.
a, not actually it was like a meme post like thing, like there was Superbase hackathon weeks or something, so I just supported it, and yeah, people actually replied. So you get visibility on Twitter. That's one of the thing I've seen.
Yes, you wouldn't realize how active founders are on Twitter. Like they're very active on Twitter, which is a lot more than LinkedIn, I would say.
Yeah, LinkedIn is sometimes annoying, but yeah,
Very
Twitter is
annoying.
really great. Only thing is Elon Musk couldn't see us happy for a longer moment, so he made a lot of tweaks and changes into Twitter.
Oh
Now
yeah, you can't
relax.
even DM people like I used to for, hey, do you have a job for me? Can't even DM now if I don't have like a blue tick.
Yeah, and it actually helps you as a personal branding yourself. Like whenever I have to showcase myself, I can share my GitHub, I can share my Twitter, and they are very active profiles. So if anyone comes across my profile, they are like pretty much impressed. Okay, that's a good profile. Yeah, that looks like this person is pretty active. So it does help when you are
Hmm.
trying to seek out opportunities or reaching out to people, so people know you
Yes,
are a genuine person. You have done things, because you might be doing a lot of things in your 4 by 4 room, but you don't know,
yes,
people don't know about it. How will people know about it? Once you start sharing it, writing something about it, maybe blogs, maybe
yes.
writing a post about it.
Because when you write, you also get like a different perspective on so many things. And I don't know. I think you will also agree while writing about like a SDK I just used or something I just used. I get a lot more perspective and I feel a lot more confident in that tech. Writing is just different. I think even a lot of people say, oh, okay, if you're reading something, write about it because you remember that thing, right? So I think writing is amazing. Everybody should at least try giving it a shot because you should definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's very random opportunities can even come at your door. Like one
Exactly.
of my blogs, it was a boom, like it reached some 20K plus views, and some
Oh
founder
wow.
co-founder
Where
some
where do
co-founder of,
where do you write?
I write on Medium mostly. Yeah,
Okay.
like
I also
I
need
have
to
pretty
switch.
much 250 around followers. Like I just started from that blog. I got a lot of audience into my site, and also one of the co-founder of some company. I would not name that
Mhm.
specific company.
Hmm.
reached out to me and they told like, okay, you have written the blog on API security and all, so like
Hmm.
we really liked it, so are you like working or something? I explained my situation, then it was like, okay, can we hop on one-on-one interview? So I gave the interview and they were like hiring for full time, so I couldn't at that
Um,
point of time go for full time, but they also told like, okay, we also offer internships maybe in future. So you see, like people contact you like
Crazy.
from your blogs, your work. So that's one thing I noticed.
Yes.
Again,
That
unexpected
is
things knock at your
100.
door.
100%. So go put yourself out there.
Yeah. So like any useful tips and tricks you have followed during your journey? It can be related to anything, even engineering, because as you know, like a lot of people are struggling lately completing engineering and they are like, okay, let alone all those things, I just want to complete my engineering peacefully, or like, okay, how to do hackathons, lot of stuff.
I don't know about your college, but my college is like very very different, and we did have like this attendance thing, but I didn't follow it at all, and I didn't care what people said at all. So I wouldn't give like a lot of shit about my college, but I think you should give shit about your college because obviously it's a college at the end of the day. So I would be the last person to tell you something anything useful about engineering. But the only thing is we worked hard for our um, semester project, like the end year project,
Final year
which
project,
was, yeah, we,
yep.
because we were very passionate about it. That's it. So the my I think my one suggestion would be to basically it's don't spend a lot of time doing tutorials from YouTube. Because I
Yeah,
think we all have been in that situation, where we have like just been blindly following tutorials and we think that we are learning, but actually we are not really learning as much after a point. When you're starting out it's fine because we have no idea, so we are just doing that and it's fine. But after like few projects, try out few things. For example, if you're starting out with HTML CSS and you built one page, just build the same page again without looking at it. I think it's fair. So don't get into the tutorial hell. Second would be share your learnings, put yourself out there. I think we just had like a very good discussion on it.
yeah,
So put yourself out there is the
totally.
best tip anybody could give you. Learn the basics of marketing and sales. uh, I know it sounds very time consuming, but it's not. It's you will understand on the way like how to market yourself and how to build like a personal brand. So it's very important for that. I always suggest this to everybody. Another tip from my side would be don't be afraid to fail, because I think it's a very cliche line, but we all fail. I fail all the time, but it's fine. In the end, you would realize why it happened, and if it hadn't happened, you wouldn't have been here. So you
Yeah,
would realize,
plus being kind to people always helps, like
yes,
appreciating things like people do for you, that would be like a really what I would say number one tip, because
number
you might
one, hundred
not know
percent.
it when people would help you. Like I
People
have
will
been in
remember you for the
community
way
and like
you
people
interacted.
are way kinder to me, like, and it really helps to get opportunities and like connections does help, right?
It does. It does. I think people, the first thing people will remember you for is how you talk to them and how kind you were that you were to them. If you like talked like with attitude and stuff, people will remember you for that. No matter how smart you are, they wouldn't want to hire you in your team because of that. So be kind to people, no matter what. It's
Exactly.
the basic.
Yep. So I guess it's now time for some Q&A, and I can see a lot of questions here. So let's dig into them. So like
Mhm.
one of the question is from Johan. Do companies show same interest for online hackathons, like for hiring or stuff like that?
Yeah, so I work at Push Protocol. Our like recent hires are from hackathons, and they were active in our community, and we knew them. So obviously, we just gave them the chance instead of giving chance
Hmm.
to people who like weren't active in a community. So yeah, online hackathons are definitely important. In fact, it shows that you are being active despite not having something hanging at your head all the time. So of course it matters if companies are spending money on on an online hackathon. So it does matter definitely.
Yep. Another question from Johan. Like this one is a nice question. Like people have this misconception like hackathon is all about coding 24 hours, but we know that it's not true. It's okay.
Not at all. I think hackathons, obviously, you have to code something because obviously that's a hackathon. But other than that, there will be a lot of booths and stuff. If it's an offline hackathon, but there will be a lot of, if it's an online, there will be a lot of breakout rounds, rooms, and mentorship sessions, and so many things. Go and talk to people. Talking to people will be another important thing other than coding, I would say. Go and talk to people, basically. That's, and you can, there are so many things like games. Like I made so many friends at while playing games at a hackathon. Like we had like a, so it's cool. There are a lot of things at hackathons, and coding is one of them, but not the only thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Another question is like generative AI bots versus graphic designers. Like I have seen this a lot of stuff. Like even like generating logos using generative AI instead of going to a graphic designer. Do you think it's actually
Okay, I don't know. I
AI
don't want to
taking
comment
over
on
the
that,
jobs?
but we just use AI to build, to make a logo for our company, for our agency. So I'm not gonna
Yeah.
comment on that.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
So obviously it
Well.
depends from company to company. A good company will invest in a graphic designer. For small companies or like a small agencies like us, it's cheaper. Like bots are cheaper for us, but obviously good companies who want to have like something which is, which like goes adheres to their brand and stuff, so it will be design, graphic designer for them, at least at this point. But I don't know about the future because it's crazy what's happening right now. Yeah.
Thinks in 10 ways. AI can think in more ways, but a person knows like what to do. But AI has to be feeded. Okay, you have to do this exact step. But as a person, I know exactly what I have to do and I can tweak it. But for AI, you need to invest that efforts to explain it. Right. Yeah. Next question is from Asim. Like his question is, according to you, what is biggest misunderstanding of people regarding hackathons? Like the common misconceptions or yeah.
That's a good question. I would say like you have to know everything to participate in a hackathon. Like you have to know like good tech stack, or have to know like React JS or all the backend and stuff to participate. But the truth is you don't really have to know everything. You could simply participate with HTML, CSS. You could simply participate with React JS, or simply with whatever you know. You could just make backend and show it in the terminal. You could just make front end and show like what you're planning. You would be surprised to know how much like the idea is given preference. Like your idea will be the first thing. Obviously implementation is the most important part, but your I like if you have like a fully implemented part, but it's not something which makes sense, then what's the point? So your idea always matters the most. So that's
Exactly.
um,
The idea is impactful and yeah, UI UX is also one thing like people do look.
yeah.
So like coming to a very nice question, like how long before the AI term reaches a saturation? What do you think? Like when it is going to burn out so much that every day some AI pops up. Recently, last week, Meta released its own AI. So I think some
Yeah.
point it is going to go dead, right?
I also posted about it on my social media. I was going through YC, like their list of investment this year, and it was all AI, 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 AI. I was like, okay, what is happening? But I don't think it's gonna reach the saturation. It's only gonna get
Yeah,
better, and we will be using AI in
new
our
terms
everyday.
are coming.
Yeah, It's not
AI
gonna
is
get
a big
saturated, but the tech is something which is amazing and we could all leverage it. We have to sort of get accustomed to using it instead of like thinking, being scared of it. And because who is making AI? An
exactly
engineer, right?
developers.
End of the day. Yeah.
Yeah, another question is like, what is best way to learn in depth about advanced topics like frameworks or technology? Like, how do you start? For example, you want to learn about, for example, Next.js. So this is a React. Sorry, yep, it's a React framework. So how will you learn about it?
I think building project would be the best thing you could do when it comes to advanced topic. For example, if you're taking React.js, so you have to do like callbacks or state management and all these things. So just think of a situation where you
Mm,
could use this and try to implement it. Maybe that would be the best thing. Or just search advanced topics of React.js. Just go one by one, so learn about it and try to think of a situation you could use in and try to implement it. I think that would be one thing I would say. Yeah.
right. Yep. uh, Learning by doing is obviously the best method, and I think this would be the last question for today. So like, our database is actually used in hackathon, like is asking, like most of the people just make static web pages, they are not much dynamic, and like they are not integrated with databases. Well, he has he's partially
Yeah.
right, but not always. It depends on the use case. So what do
Yeah,
you think about
depends
it?
on the use case again. So, for example, last time we made something using uh, generative AI, and we weren't using database to store it. So obviously, the it was getting lost
Yeah,
after a point. But again, idea is important. Sometimes implementation takes a backseat, and you have to let's get it right, because if you have like a time of 24 hour and you have to train your model and you have to do all that thing, so it's okay to take few things out of the picture. But obviously database is also important depending on the use case. Yeah, I would say that.
yeah. Right, exactly. So like, one of the hackathons I remember. So like, mostly we also like use Firebase and all. So like, one of the
Hmm.
hackathons, the problem statement was to create a type of dating app. So like, we had to store the people's, like all the
Yeah.
details, interest and all. So yeah, for example, if creating some kind of recommendation system like that, you would need to store user data. So yeah,
Yes.
it's when databases are useful. And there are a
Yes.
lot of NoSQL databases like Firebase and all, where you can
Mm,
actually get a lot of features like auth, real-time data store, even ML features are also there. So yeah, you can leverage that.
definitely.
So like, I guess that was the end of the Q&A session. Thank you, Preeti, for joining us. It was a hour long of great discussion. I really had a great time having conversation with you. Like, I think it was after a long time. Yep. In
Yes,
person,
thank you for having
we
me
might meet
first of
sometime.
all, and I'm really like looking forward to like your community, because you are doing amazing in it, and I'm seeing so many people being
Yeah,
like actively participating in it. So all the best for it, and thank you for having me again.
yeah, exactly. And yeah, thank you, Preeti, for the insights. It was like, you are really a cheerful person of what I know you, right? And I was
Yeah,
very sure of having the podcast with you would be the great way to start this Woman in Tech series, because you are an awesome girl, and like, yeah, you're doing a great things in communities that you should be doing, right?
thank you so much. So are you. Like I'm always, I always have so much fun about it. I was talking to Darshan about you, like um
Yeah,
we were talking about you, like how like positive you always are, and you it always radiates. And yeah, thank you for having me.
yeah, thank you. Like, yeah. Cool.
See
Thank
you.
you everyone for joining us and making it a memorable podcast. And
Indeed.
looking forward to the part two of the podcast. It would be more amazing, more speakers, and yep, it would be really great. Thank you all.
Awesome. See you. Bye.
So signing off, TCT Open Source with Preeti Singh.